Sometimes all it takes is a little imagination to see the potential in a piece. When I first came across this mid-century cabinet, I knew it had good bones, but it was definitely stuck in the past. The faded finish and worn details just didn't do justice to its clean lines and timeless design. I knew this piece had the potential to shine again. This one should be fun. It's a mid-century console, and I think I want to make some shelving in here, possibly for some record albums. Maybe replace these things, but we could do something fun with it. The first step that I always like to take is to see what I'm working with. So I went ahead and just sanded it down just to see the condition of the wood, and I realized, yeah, this piece is gonna have to be painted. As I was doing that, I'm trying to figure out what I want to do, but the next step was to take it apart, give it a good thorough cleaning and sanding all the little details, trying to figure out what to do with what I call the perfect scratching post for cats here on the sides. Definitely need to get rid of those. That's when the vision for this transformation really came to life. I wanted to elevate its retro vibe with a striking geometric design, you know, something that would make it stand out as a functional piece of art. And to balance the boldness of the design that I'm going to come up with, I want to leave the legs in their natural wood finish. You know, that touch of warmth kind of helps ground the piece and keep it versatile for any interior space. That one key decision was to remove these worn, outdated fabric panels on the doors. While they were a signature of mid-century design, I wanted a cleaner, more modern look that would complement the geometric design I have planned. So I replaced the fabric with this sleek wood panel, giving the piece a more streamlined and cohesive appearance while it's still honoring its retro roots. I cut the piece to size, and I'm just retrofitting the panels just to make sure before I do anything, and also so I can get a visual of what it will look like. And of course, the only way to remove this scratching post is to pull out my multi-tool and create a weakness in it so I can pull it out. Okay, maybe hammer it out would best describe this. Look at that. Perfect. Flush. Love it. Oh, here's the other one. It's gonna work. And now that I know it's going to work, let's get these in so it's a little more permanent. After prepping the cabinet doors with a good scuff sand, this paint from Melange has a primer built in, so there's no need. And I'm going with a really beautiful black. It's called New York Black from Melange Paints. It's absolutely gorgeous. One of my favorites. And it gives the piece that dramatic and modern foundation. As that's drying, it's time to prime. I decided to roll my primer. It's a smaller piece, and actually rolling is quite quick, and brushing all the little details. This didn't take too long. Now the fun part is about to begin. Of course, you want to give it a little sanding prior or after you paint each layer. I used a high grit 220 grit, just lightly sanded, and here we go. This is the part that I love, that creative part of my brain. Just get super excited about this kind of thing, and I'm just kind of coming up with it as I go. And anytime you create a geometric design, it can be a meticulous but rewarding process. And after painting the black base, I used some precision tape to outline the pattern. And it's just inspired by having a clean line and some symmetry with what will be a bold color. One I'm using is called Palo Verde, and the other is Nom de Plume, both Melange paints. I just love the mix of the bold color and the neutral and the black base. For those crisp lines, you always need to apply some sort of clear primer or top coat over the lines. That way when you peel the line, there'll be a seal giving you that crisp line that you're looking for. Now let's move back to the piece. You always, again, want to use a high grit sand in between each coat and even after the primer, just to get that smooth finish before you tape. And right here I'm applying some caulk in some of the seams. It's a paintable caulk, and it's perfect for just making it look a little more finished. Here we go, adding the boldness. This requires several coats of paint, but each layer was carefully painted, ensuring that crisp, clean edges and staying in the lines was critical. This is the fun part, isn't it? All I do now is to let it dry and continue to put on more coats. But in the meantime, I need to do something on the interior of the piece. I want to be able to store record albums, but this one board is not gonna be sufficient enough to hold record albums, so I'm going to add 2 more pieces, as you can see here, just to give it a little more stability. Now, the decision to use my roller again was just because I wanted to. I know this paint is really good about the self-leveling process and the ability of this paint. So I knew that rolling or brushing is going to still give that professional finish. Let's get back to these cabinet doors. Now, each layer was carefully painted, ensuring that crisp, clean line and edges. And as I peeled back the tape, there were a couple of issues, but I could go back and fix that. But this whole process did require some patience and attention to detail, as every stripe and shape needed to align perfectly. And as I peeled everything back and fixed any of the little imperfections, man, the result was a striking, modern, geometric pattern that I feel perfectly complements the piece's mid-century roots, while it's also giving off a fresh, contemporary feel. Time to address the legs. I'm going to do what I love to do, and is to give it a glaze. So you start out with a top coat on the legs, eventually coming in with General Finishes Van Dyke Brown, which is my favorite, and I always seem to come back to it. That's just how I roll. Again, these added supports are going to give the piece just a little more stability when you put in your record albums and they have something to rest on. And here's the glazing process. Just brush it on as you would any paint, and then let it sit for a bit and wipe it down. You can always go in with another coat after it dries to darken it up, giving you the color or tone that you're looking for. I've actually had a lot of people ask, why do you always use glaze rather than stain? And my typical response is, I'm the type of person that when I find something I like, I kind of stick with it. It's kind of like me going to my favorite restaurant and always getting the same meal. I know what I like, I know what I'm going to get, and I know I won't be disappointed in the end. That little finishing touch is to add little foot pads, because why not? As always, it's time to move this over and get this thing staged, add some of the finishing details, and take some photos. Well, it's that time again. Let's venture back. This piece started out as a tired mid-century cabinet, neglected, out of style. The wood finish was dated. The woven panels were worn and lacked the charm and vibrancy it deserved. To me, it was more than just an old cabinet. It was a blank canvas waiting to be transformed. And here he is, completely reimagined. It's now a stunning piece with sleek black painting bringing elegance and boldness, that geometric pop of mustard yellow. This piece went from forgotten and dated to bold and beautiful, and it just shows what's possible when you see beyond the surface. I absolutely love it. What do you guys think?